embrace all that talents, all that beauty, and didn't understand never the world happily. So I invite you today for this constructive dialogue, how to make collaboration work, how we bring humility, we bring our heart, our soul, our abilities in order that make collaboration happen. This I think is like the last this word that makes that the artisans make everything together and there is a masterpiece. No, so thank you so much, Paula, and all. I say Paula representing thousands of youth that are constructing this systemic change at Hecho por Nosotros and Animana.
Thank you, Adri. Now we will start this dynamic. We will carry out a session based on some expertise-related questions and topics for each of the speakers. I encourage you, if you have questions for the speakers, you can make them through the chat, and we will have a few minutes at the end to answer those. So we will start with Yvone Watson. Welcome, Yvone. We are really, really happy you are here. This is an amazing opportunity. And our question for you as a starter is, considering your expertise at Parsons School of Design, could you elaborate on the relationship between experienced artisans and emerging young designers, and how this dynamic contributes to the evolution of maybe design trends or techniques, and the finally reimagined role of the designer itself? I give you the floor, is yours.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. It really is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Adriana, as you were introducing yourself, a lot of what you said really resonated with me in terms of your interest in artisan communities and their lives and, you know, their way of living, creating, and what it means as a knowledge system. So as Paula said, right now I am the interim executive dean at Parsons. I've been here at Parsons since 2010. As well as that, I'm also the founder of a brand. The brand is Kindred Coterie. And it is a brand that connects with artisan communities, one, to provide, you know, really great ethically sourced products, but also, you know, to provide a service to designers and fashion brands in terms of what it means to authentically connect with artisan brands, sort of artisan communities. And if you imagine, most recently, Dior did a collaboration in Mumbai with skilled artisans. What I have been kind of observing over a period of time now is that there is obviously a way that we can ethically and appropriately connect with artisan communities. And so, you know, that is, you know, what my brand is intended to kind of like focus on. But separate from that, I run a course here that I've ran for, gosh, since probably 2018. And it was a course that I designed, which is called the Global Artisan, the Alternative Fashion Supply Chain. What I was interested in was the ways in which exactly the fashion industry can often engage with artisan communities in ways that are not always horizontal. They are typically asymmetric, and there is always a power dynamic that exists in those kinds of relationships. And I started to map the ways in which brands who claimed they were working with artisan communities, or state that they're working with artisan communities as part of their brand promise and their mission and values, and very much that culture of, we are here, we are empowering communities, we're empowering women communities, etc. and often just looking beyond that and seeing, no, who's being empowered is the person who is entering into the environment of an artisan community most often, and the way that power actually then is held. So in the course, over time, the content of that course has evolved, but the students that I've worked with have provided an enormous opportunity for us to really think about their role as designers as they go out into the industry, and if they are working with artisan communities, what are those dynamics? What would be an appropriate way for them to connect? So that is my goal. What I have watched over a long period of time, and things that I've been really fascinated with, have been the ways in which trends, fashion trends are orientated, and the fact that I never understood this, but there was always something called an ethnic trend. And ethnic then became something very bland that described a whole host of different cultures and cultural identities, etc. And in a way, I think as an industry, as the fashion industry, it's just become a natural way in which we engage, in a natural way in which the fashion industry engages. So the designers, the creative directors, typically they will go on one of their kind of creative trips each year. And, they will go to a community, they find these gems of fabrics or materials. My love is in relation to materiality, just so you were describing fibers, the weaving metaphor that you started with. That is my love. I mean, I always do this. I actually trained as a knitwear designer. So, everything is about the touch, the feel, the cloth, the way that, it holds a memory. So, that is my starting point. So when designers go to a place and then, they go to the markets and they pull up and bring, they find gems of cloth and motifs, and then they are not always generous in the ways in which they use those kinds of materials. It becomes a way that they capture, it's a moment in time, but then they use that to then either underpin or frame, how their design themes are going to be structured. So in my class, this is one of the things that we look at. We look at, there is a theorist, a woman who wrote a piece, I'm just locating her name, Brigitte Vizina, and we use, I see some nodding, we use that text, I use that to really have the students really understand, what does traditional cultural expression mean? And I have different examples of, I think there is a really great example of a traditional Inuit costume, a traditional dress, and then there is a fashion version of it, and they are identical. We look at things like the ways in which Urban Outfitters have used Navajo themes, but what is great is like when the Navajo community fought back by saying, this is our intellectual property, and we are going to defend our intellectual property. So a lot of what we focus on is the respectful ways in which we can come into a community. For me, it really shifts how students understand their own relationship with a community and with a culture. And one of the early ways in which I started to engage in this, Donna Karen is a graduate at Parsons, and she had been doing some work in Haiti. And because I'm nosy, I figured out, let me go take a look what's happening down there. And that began for me a relationship with an organization that I'm engaged with now. But what was interesting was watching how Donna engaged with that community, it's a community that she knows, that she engages with, that she has relationships with, she has knowledge of the materiality. That was a starting point for me as I was developing my, my own course. And then over a period of time, as we began to tease out a lot of these questions, issues, disrupting the natural ways in which students think about design and their relationship to design, the power dynamic, the power relationships that they have, and what it means, actually the honor and privilege also, what it is to work with a community. I had the opportunity to work with an organization in Peru, Concurrentes, and we did a small kind of like pilot experience where we took a group of students. I took 4 students to a community in Peru, and we had a collaboration there. So first of all, we came to that community. My partner who worked with this this project, Alexandra Roldan, who's Peruvian, we very much were on the same kind of lines in relation to how we wanted this relationship to work, how we wanted the experience of being with this community. The community is near Cusco. It is, the name of the community is Cacacoya. And so we spent, it was brief, but we spent a few days with the community, really understanding what their materials are, the way they raise the alpaca, the dyes that they use. But most of all as well, we interrogated with them. They had been working with a Canadian, I think an NGO and a designer, and they had very little authority in that relationship. Essentially, they did manufacturing and production. They never knew who the ultimate buyer was, so they were cut off from that relationship. They had very little outward presence. So 2 of my students, they worked on reworking with them a motif, their logo. And then also, that was really interesting to kind of just watch that dynamic as well. In terms of the respect that they gave. The community wanted a logo that referenced the natural elements. And so there was a great deal of listening in relationship to how did they want to represent themselves. And then they worked with them on refining their Facebook page. And then we did some product development with them as well. And I want to be really clear that it was with them, you know, by them, not by us. And it was also a really great teaching opportunity. In some ways, I think, and maybe at a later point, I can share some images. One of the things that came out of that experience was, I remember speaking to a couple of those students, and one of those students, her name is Joy Mao, she has her own brand now. And she said that experience was life-changing. And it's not the sort of terminology that I use lightly, but I can kind of see, based on what she's doing now, how much it altered her relationship to herself, but also understanding how she could be somebody who makes change as well. I just want to make sure I'm looking at your question as well. This is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in what it means to be change makers. I've been around many students who I would describe as change makers. And the role of design in their ability to bring forth things that are socially just, community orientated is something that I'm always interested in. And in our School of Fashion, I led a lot of our change in relation to the curriculum. And so this is very much embedded in who we are. So I would say, in terms of the relationships between designers and artisans, it feels like it's a critical space. It's a space of reflection, but it's also a space of joy.
It's 9:00.
It's a space of joy. And I'm looking forward to ways in which I can continue to expand on this. We're looking at designing a program where we'll take a group of students to India and probably back to Peru again, and looking at how I can keep developing that, because I think it is critical to people's understanding in terms of the roles that they hold, and just the notion of power and positionality. And I think in many ways, the ways in which fashion works, it is very much about power and positionality, and we need to shift that dynamic.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Oh, Adri, go.
Feel so enthusiastic and eager for this conversation, and as it is totally aligned, and to share so many of the tools that we have been created. Then will be here Tricia Langman, and we may continue the conversation about the toolkit and all the tools we have already developed in order to make that facilitate designers, professionals, in order to embrace this systemic change and be much more ready in order to connect with the community and to work from a totally different space and to be open. What you say is what happens every day at Hecho por Nosotros when youth connect with the grassroots and they experience and they learn, they notice, they were thinking they will give something, they will teach, and they learn a lot. So aligned and so enthusiastic about our conversation. Thank you. Paula?
Thank you, Adri. Thank you, Yvonne. I am a vivid example of what Adri just said, so I can tell you that is 100% true. We will go back to this fragmented value chain and the role of designers as social actors once Trish is here in the meeting. So right now we're going to go a little bit deeper into what local communities really mean for us, their knowledge, their ancestral wisdom with Jason Jacobs. Jason, it's always a pleasure. Here you are. Thank you for being here. And our question for you is, in this journey of yours, what reflections have emerged about your work and the significance of that work for the young individuals you interact with, or those who are impacted by your endeavors, even though they might not be young? So, Jason, the floor is yours.
Oh, kia ora, Paula. Thank you very much for that question and the placement. Thank you, Yvonne, for those wonderful illustrations of our artisans across the globe and the ones that you're helping out. I was looking at this question that you placed for myself and obviously the others, and from my perspective, there's sort of three things I want to touch on, which are sort of the spaces that I've been supporting in terms of our youth. One of them essentially starts with our values, and obviously it's comes in from what we call the tūranga waiwai, or your place of standing, and it's quite underplayed even in our Māori culture and our people back home. We tend to forget about our place of standing. As we know, Ariana comes from a beautiful place called Patagonia, and these areas that I've been developing within my organizations. So in the gamification for the young kids, AI, gamification, how they build out in terms of their systems and stuff, we've been sort of taking it down to its indigenous innovations and allowing the young students, our kaiako, our rangatahi, to be able to come down to the ground and then experience their indigenous support from their people, our people, and allow them to really unravel what can create a lot of social problems if they don't have a clear place of standing for themselves. And so in the gamification spaces around mainly esports and kids that are delving into the digital and technological space around AI, and even opening up their mindset and realizing that artificial intelligence is really just, and I say this respectfully, but watered down Indigenous systems. And so getting them to come to that place by the fire to understand what it is, as we know, when we were growing up as kids, if anybody told us, don't do that, invariably they tried to do it. And so when you tell people, turn that computer off, or don't do this, and don't build out those things, you need to do something else, this is when there can be a disconnect. And so I've been in our gamification, my gamification space, I've been supporting a community in Pakistan. There are about 19,000 gamers. And really people were saying, Jason, how are you able to impact or have any sort of ability to support these this young generation when you've never been to Pakistan? And I said, well, that's because we are coming together in a place of standing where we want to show respect for what we're trying to build out as a community. And so I believe, and other people may say differently, that our ancestors placed me in front of our youth in Pakistan. And when I was there, I thought, hang on, we are dealing with cultural education in terms of how they view the world and what they see as meaningful, or how they should interact with females, with themselves. And I realized in that moment that I could only place it for them in our Indigenous support for our Indigenous systems, and say, look, you can't control what your government does. You can't control what a rogue group of people may do in terms of how they do, but what you can control is your place of standing and how you respect where you are in terms of what you're trying to build out. Now, these young kids, they had no support in their gaming. They had no computers. They had no resources. And I bring this up because I hear that in our artisans too. They have the wonderful hands, they have the heart, they have the soul, and they want to build out things, but they have limited resources in some cases. And so what I realized with this young group, that once we gathered around a fire, a meaningful fire for us, and we started to talk about how we can be respectful to the places that we support and we try to build out. Now they all want to be world champion gamers, they all want to code, they want to design, they want to build out things. But before we started there, we came back to the real things, as Yvone was illustrating, around relationship building, around understanding why you do what you do. And through that, we were able to, in a very short time, create a platform for them to be respectful to themselves, to the people they interact with, and to the people they want to interact with such as Yvone had mentioned, bigger fashion groups wanting to work with our communities. And so when I placed this with the global gaming community, they laughed. And I said, why is it that you give, and being no disrespect to our Pakistani brothers and sisters, and Indian, I said, how come there's no money or resources go to these young kids? And they said, oh, and then they came up with, yeah, government is corrupt and they do this and they do that. And I said, but you just told me 2 minutes ago you care about the youth. Do you know how many young people are in Pakistan? And so there's 178 million young kids. And so this was an important waking up for the global gaming community to realize that they have to support these gifted kids, and the ones I saw the same thing with our artisans and our artists and because I come from a Māori culture. We learned how to weave and use the poi and to understand the beautiful designs and draw from our natural environments, the elements of the ocean, the mountains, our trees, and so with no resources, one of the young guns, they actually went on, and what they've done in gaming, no kid will probably do but everyone said, how is this possible? He had no game, he had no support, and he had no funding, and yet he went to Japan and won there, went to Singapore and won there, went to Los Angeles and won there, and then everybody started puffing him up. But we knew that we'd built out a community to support our group and to support us going forward, because we know that there'll be roadblocks along the way. But coming back to what Yvone had mentioned around relationships and building out this collaborative community and system, and even the way they were able to get funding for themselves, we were thinking, okay, so who do we want to engage with? Harada is the one who has Street Fighter. We need to bring him to Pakistan. So we were thinking of creative ways of how we could bring him to Pakistan. And then one of our young members says, I send Twitter to him, messages. And we thought, okay, let's compile a message and we'll send it to him on behalf of our Esports Pakistan group. And now that's one area in terms of your question, Paul, and around these reflections and how we're trying to build that out. Now the Microsofts and the Googles and the ABCs are starting to land in Pakistan, and these kids are starting to get more support because they can band around what they know is important. And that's transcending their culture and how they've been educated and how they need to respect people. And now another area which I'm very fortunate to work in is actually in the environment. And one group we've been building out just very recently, and it's around turning cellulose and lignin-based feedstocks into materials which will be bioethanol, bioplastics, and then it comes from all natural ingredients and fibers. And we know that can provide for our Indigenous communities and for our general mainstream communities, where there is waste, such as wheatgrass, such as coconut in the Pacific and in other areas. And I know there'll be natural fibers, and also we're working with the agave plant in Mexico. And obviously these elements to be able to take it to the community, and then the community can decide on what they see as valuable to build out their products that are going to be biodegradable. And we're starting with a little frisbee to start with. But what I was meaning about our youth, so it's been really interesting to watch some of the students really engage, and we want to have them through the whole process of the modular factory system. And then eventually it will be a mobile modular system to address what we just got hit with our slash and from cutting down trees. And I know this apologies.
I am really sorry to interrupt you. We have a really briefly meeting today.
No problem.
If you round up like 30 seconds, and we are going to come back to you in the closure.
Yeah, so I was just saying that creating pathways and bridges is what we've been trying to do, increasing the collaborative learnings and workings with our youth. And then obviously this is based on Indigenous innovations. So apologies for going over time, Paula. And
No, it's always a pleasure to listen to your words. I am going to take some concepts you mentioned just because it's really connected to our next speaker. So you mentioned gaming as a way of connecting sometimes this ancestral knowledge and reconnecting the values with the youth in a really dynamic way. So I am going to welcome Pavel Pavel Luksha. So Pavel, as founder of Global Education Futures, my question for you is, what insights have you gained regarding the significance of education and its relevance to current demands, specifically as it pertains to the young individuals you collaborate with in your impactful project?
Thank you, Paula, and it's a delight to be here. And first of all, I think there are so many threads that are already present here, and I want to weave some of them together. As you have mentioned earlier, I am a co-founder of the Weaving Lab, and the Weaving Lab is about weaving social threads, but it takes inspiration from the practice of weaving. That's what Adriana and you, many other people in this space are doing, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Why we think this type of acting in social space becomes paramount right now. But first of all, maybe I should touch the topic of artisanship in general as something that is often considered a vacation of the past, so to say. So it's something that people see as, let's say, now we have more modern things to do, like we can go into gaming industry, we can go coding, we can play with AI, and working with hands is something of, let's say, old age. So recently, together with Boston Consulting Group, we did a study on the long-term future of jobs, exploring what humans are going to do in decades when automation is going to take over so many jobs. It's the anticipated transition is at least half of the world jobs can be overtaken by automated solutions in the next few decades. So some people say it can happen even in a decade from now. Some people say by 2050. Anyway, the transition is coming. And it's part of the larger transition. We also need to learn how to work in a way that is more and increasingly planet and human friendly. So the question of what in the long term will be human occupations is one that actually I think has to inform our conversation about what we need to learn and what is the role of education. So what we have discovered in this study is that actually, first of all, we need to see the changing nature of work, because for millennia, work has been a way of sustaining ourselves. It was actually, you have to work to just get food on your table. And it still is, of course, in many regions, because many regions are not resource abundant. But as we move into this future and more opportunities emerge for our societies, actually the opportunity rises for young people to also recognize that it's less about sustenance, more about the meaning of their life. So how do we see work as something that actually makes our lives meaningful, makes our human contribution to the world, let's say, something that is relevant to human communities, to modern human communities. So that means there is a range of sectors that are going to emerge which will match this. And also we need to learn how to work within the planetary boundaries, recognizing that we need to match the social foundation, some things that are discussed in donut economy paradigm. So we need to see what are those opportunities. And actually, what we have discovered is that the artisanship and the culture of handworking in a new way, it can employ all kinds of innovations like 3D printing and so on. It's not that important. The important thing, there is this creative impetus behind the work of artisans. There is collaboration and there is local knowledge creation. And these are elements of what we can say the future of work is definitely going to be. So that I have good news for you, because I think in this space we're not working on something that is, let's say, outside the trend. I think it's exactly what the future is going to be. It's part of the emerging future. And in that regard, the question is, what is the role of education that prepares us for this massive transition? And if we think about the educational paradigm that is dominant right now, and ask ourselves, does it really prepare young people for the future emerging? We all probably agree that it doesn't. And the fact is that this paradigm has emerged about 2 centuries ago, in mostly in Western Europe, industrializing by then, that needed obedient soldiers, obedient citizens, obedient workers in factories, people that just needed some, let's say, cognitive skills, like reading and writing, and had to obey to certain disciplinary measures to be part of this industrial machine that was emerging in cities of Western Europe. And that type of education projected all over the world, and that's what we call modern education. And it's not relevant anymore for the situation that is emerging. If we think about the future we are moving into, this has to be much more humane. It has to be built on our empathetic ability. So empathy is part of the story. It has to be built on our creativity. It has to be built on collaboration, co-creation, inquiry, problem solving, joint artistic projects. So it's a totally different way of learning together. And actually, if we say, how can we co-create the future? Because part of this forum is also exploring how can we move to circular economies, regenerative economies. The only way to do it is to do it within human communities that are learning together to do things differently. And that's what, to me, is the service of transforming education. Not the education as we know it right now, but the education that could be and should be in the future. The education that serves this transition. Because if we think about what education actually is, it can be one of the most important vehicles of societal transformation, of collective human evolution that there is out there. But it's not at the moment, because it's so much constrained by regulations, by standardization, by deprivation of teacher ability to act in the system. So that's why I strongly believe that most of the innovation and integration will come from the boundary, not from within the center of the system. And some people that are doing incredible work at the center of the system are usually struggling with a lot of resistance, exactly because they're struggling not with their fellow humans, but with the systems that were imposed on them, that are replicated from the past. And we've been exploring actually the question of what is that critical change. What are those, like acupuncture points? Where is that thing which can transform the system? And one of most important things that we have discovered, and I see it as one that is potential, is actually the idea of empowering. The idea of empowering learners, of giving them learner agency, giving them the opportunity to not just follow the structure that is imposed on them, but to have their voice, to have their personalized journeys, to have some leadership of their own on every level, on level of specific class, on level of specific course, on level of the whole school. And of course, the school opens up into modern school environment, which is, I think, one of key transitions into learning ecosystems. And this is where actually the role of weavers is so critical, because first of all, the change we are talking about, it requires collective effort. So we need to do it within communities. We need to do it by collaborating with each other, by creating structures that facilitate this collaboration. And that's actually the role of this particular type of leadership, the leadership that connects, the leadership that empowers, the leadership that holds the space for others. That's what we call weaving in essence. And that is something that on one hand we need for those transformational leaders that step into the domain of education to facilitate its transition to become what I was just talking about. But also we need to help young people learn how to weave. And by the way, I think this is where I sense the interesting connection between like learning how to work with hands and actually weaving the threads, and then putting that into social space and recognizing you can do the same thing with human relations, weaving them together into beautiful tapestry of like an ornament of constellation of different organizations, partners working together for something impactful. So I could say a lot more, but I feel like I need to give space to other people. And just concluding, I sense that maybe one more thing is something we have been speaking here a little bit, is that this transition is not only about young people, it's about everyone. So the learning ecosystems we need to create, these empowering learning ecosystems, are not only for young kids alone. It's actually for intergenerational groups. And I think only by creating intergenerational groups where all generations are present, working together on some kind of challenge, this is where transition is really going to happen, because that's the way also to transit some of the wisdom accumulated in more senior generation. It's the way of holding the space together, and adults actually need to be empowered as well. I think many of them are as deprived of ability to act as young kids. And that's, to me, the pathway forward, is creating this learning communities, intergenerational communities where people are empowered to act and positively change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel, and so interesting. All voices, so important, and how we grow maintain care about our child. No, with the white white hair, in order that we are all this energy, this vital energy of love and co-creation. Thank you so much. Then at the end we will come back with another round, and now I would like to give the voice to such a woman that she is a friend and ambassador of Hecho por Nosotros. I admire her too much, Laura Koch. She is leading the caring economy, women for...
Hola, mamá, me voy. Hola, mamá. Sí, no sé.
¿Hay alguien? Ahí está. Would like to give the voice, Laura. Thank you so much. Here.
Thank you so much. I am so inspired to be here between all these amazing change makers. And while I was hearing you all, I kept changing my speech because I said, oh, that's what I want to say. But no, it's already said, and I want to keep my talk to 7 minutes. That is not easy, because I could talk for hours, as I did yesterday in our presentation together with Catalina. And basically, first of all, I want to start by saying that the term "everybody is a change maker" by Bill Drayton is such a profound statement that was given by him more than maybe 50 years ago. And my topic today is such a important topic, because I'm a true believer that the challenges we are facing today is very much involved with how to harness the talents and perspective of all individuals, regardless of gender. But I truly believe, through my work as a Women for Solutions, that is an NGO that we try to create and identify simple solutions that are scalable towards a caring economy. And people say, well, but what is a caring economy? Well, it is to our view, it's a paradigm shift that transcends traditional measures of success. And it's not an economy that only values financial prosperity, but prioritizes well-being of people, individuals, communities, and our planet. It emphasizes the importance of empathy, cooperation, and inclusiveness, shifting the focus from growth to sustainable development. And my topic today is about how women are overcoming those barriers of and actively contribute to the advancements of sustainable practices. As we know, Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. And as Jason and as Pavel and as Yvone and Adriana, who I admire so deeply, yes, education is everything. And today, what Hecho por Nosotros has done through education and awareness, they have created incredible networks as this one, and throughout Adriana's life. I think in the last 20 years, her spirit, indomitable spirit, has really improved the lives of millions of women and men and children through her incredible force. She's really an amazing change maker that creates true and profound changes in the heart of every human being. And I think especially of women that then pass this to their children, boys and girls, and make real changes. And I truly believe that through the role model of Adriana and Paula and everybody else, Catalina, who are working in Animana, they touch the hearts of so many people that by creating these role models and mentorship, that is a key element to overcome the barriers, change is happening. And change is happening in an incredibly exponential way. As Jason and Pavel show, education is no longer about following, obeying, and doing exactly what is meant to be. Education is about not only about the food, but also about deep purpose. And when people have purpose, they are empowered. And women and men that have really that feeling that they see a simple problem, a complex problem, but what they see is a simple solution. Those are the change makers, and anybody can be a change maker. And basically, to move forward, a caring economy, it's very important to develop skills. Hecho por Nosotros has done an amazing job through a workshop empowering women and men and communities and their children, everybody, to really feel the importance of the support they get in the workspace, and to really move forward the inspiration towards designers, universities, as she is done through, Adriana has done through a Parsons School and how Yvonne has done it. This is all incredible movement that is changing, and I think there's no way back. Youth and people of any age realize that the movement towards a more caring economy is what matters. And I always say, Hecho por Nosotros has advanced in with technology that have given instrumental advantages to women towards a more caring economy, because they have recognized their skills, their development, they have given fair remuneration. But what matters is that Hecho por Nosotros is a masterful organization about partnership, collaboration. And I always say, Hecho por Nosotros is 1 + 1 = 11. And that is the power of partnership and the power of how Hecho por Nosotros and Animana has really made changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for all this work that is inspired on you, on each of you, and so many people, each of the artisan, producer, change maker, students, everyone. When you have your heart open, it's like something so beautiful happen, no? And this is the way. So, Paula, are you there?
I am here, Adri.
Okay. So, give you the voice, the youth leading, absolutely. Oh, and here is Trish Langman.
Here's Trish, yeah. Hi, Trish. I'm not sure if she has her camera on. So what we are going to do now is listen a little bit about what is that we have been doing, how the toolkit works. That will be done by Trish. Trish, just open your mic and let me know whenever you are ready. I am just going to give you a brief insight perspective on how youth is embraced in this organization till Trish comes in. So I am a textile designer, and as Adri mentioned at the beginning, I had this anxiety inside me, but I did not understand how to approach sustainability in a really respectful and honest way. And I found the NGO. I had the amazing experience of working in a group Peru, on Huánuco, Peru. So I really related, and everything that Yvone said really resonated with the work we did there. It was an amazing experience. We shared this co-creation cycle with a group of artisans from Huánuco. What we did there was put in the table all the tools we had regarding different topics that were related on how to build a small enterprise. So each one of us, it was a team of really young leaders that were experts on different topics such as marketing, design, color theory, social media. And what we did was establish a real dialogue with the community there, put the toolkit in action, and co-create with them these cycles, or were more like a conversatory, where we really understood what is that they needed, and we only worked as social actors, as bridges between the tools we had that were really easy and really like common for us. It was just one click away, and put all of that in hands of them, for them to create and to get the chance to create their own storytellings. Is Trish available, Adri?
I am available.
Okay,
I just
Trish.
can't get my camera on, but yeah, here to talk a little bit about the toolkit, which is an amazing educational tool that we've been developing over the last 2 years with academics and professionals from the industry. At Nosotros, one of the things that we really do value is being able to make tools accessible, making tools accessible for SMEs and for people in the global south that don't necessarily have access to educational courses and resources. And what we've really hoping to do is, help to democratize this whole idea of education for artisans, workers, and entrepreneurs in the global south. So as you know, we are all about co-creation and finding solutions. And so what we've done with our courses is to base them down in empathy, thinking about your fellow human being on this planet, and thinking about how you can work together to share resources. We believe in co-learning and tailoring our knowledge to help with capacity building. Our courses are designed really to eventually become a certification of knowledge and skills, but ultimately it is about building community. We want to connect everybody. We want people to be able to have access to mentorships, to understand what best practices are, and really create that sense of community and synergy with people who are like-minded in the sustainability space. One of the main things that we really want to think about is, how we can get entrepreneurs and SMEs to understand the solutions that are out there, the importance of being transparent, also the importance of understanding the marketplaces like the B2B, B2C, and how to get there. There's certain ways that you can processes that maybe small businesses do not know. I mean, me as a professor, I teach entrepreneurship as well as design, and there's a big disconnect between the two. So really making people understand how business can be friendly to design in the creative economy, and also how you can explore different ways to get to the marketplace. So our objective really is to just, get people to understand that it all starts with not just the idea, but designing with intention and thinking about how you get what your idea that you have, how that manifests later on as an idea and the consequences of what you do. So designing with intention just really means thinking about your actions and its impacts. And so I try to do that with my students, and in the toolkit, what we've really done is set that as a standard right at the beginning, where you really do think about your intention. We use tools like design thinking to help you get there, where which is steeped in empathy. Empathy being a really great way to think about not only just putting yourself in someone else's shoes, but also making you think a little bit outside of the box of, we are all sort of in our own comfort zones, as designers or as business people. I think tools like design thinking really do help you, explore other people's perspectives. So what we've done in our courses is present a design thinking course that is looking at sustainability. We're looking through the lens of sustainability at problem solving and using empathy as our basis. And so, we go through a sense of building an idea and building it with community. So that's one of the things I love about the toolkit is we have a community that we're going to build that's global. People from Africa, people from South America, people from Asia, all taking this course in cohorts and really working together. And you having questions. Questions are really important ways to innovate. And so all of these people working together through this our design thinking course. Another aspect of the toolkit and another course is around materials. So materials as a textile designer are so important. Split into two ways. Thinking about the future of fabrics in terms of things like biomimicry, biofabrics, biomaterials, and the importance of those, but also recognizing that there is a scalability issue with those, and also recognizing the fact that if you have something like that, the end product must be justified by the processes. So what I mean by that is, the processes need to be sustainable. The value chain that brings you to that sustainable biomaterial needs to be sustainable as well. They shouldn't deplete the natural resources, and they should be in harmony with what's going on in the communities. So we also are going to be thinking a lot about natural fibers, especially because those are prevalent. I had a really great conversation with somebody about cotton and how it's been bred to be a high yield kind of crop, a particular strain of it, but cotton comes in many colors, but the color had been bred out. So we tackle so many things around natural fibers, camelids, for which Animana is our case study. We look at leather, we look at many other things, materials, and it's really important to have the materials are the source of fashion, textiles, many other things in the creative industries. And so we really want to make sure that we are looking at our materials, where they come from, and make sure that they're sustainable, and also training. We have worked with many different communities in South America and Africa around capacity building and training, and looking to think about natural fibers and how they can be used for capacity building. And so we really do, in our courses and the toolkit, give you those tools and resources to help you think about implementing a pilot, or think about how you can think about your natural resources and think about nature-based solutions as a strategy. So we really do want you to sort of think about, if you're going to commercialize what you're doing within your community, you think through that. You think about how to be transparent and how to be traceable, and how to integrate that into the global markets. We do look at business models as well, really important. We look through at circularity, business, logistics, and all of those things that I think are the stepping stone as circularity is the future. But at the same time, you know, we want to make sure that this is always accessible. So, you know, we are going to be working with schools from around the world to help them, you know, inform them about this as a complement to many of their curriculums. I think that they're, you know, maybe in the global north, they have sustainability centers and everything set up. But in the global south, we found that with people I interact with, you know, they feel that, you know, those resources, there's too much and they need it in one place. And they really need it to complement what they're doing in terms of curriculum. So professors, principals are really interested in this, especially, you know, the next generation of designers. So we really are going to be working with many schools. We have a couple of, maybe even more than that in Africa, quite a few schools interested in complementing and getting that certification as part of their curriculum. And also working in South America as well, and extending that into Asia and Southern Asia. So for us, it is the toolkit is really a culmination of all the work that we've been doing for more than 14 years. Just thinking about all of these things that you see here: natural fiber, sustainable design, capacity building, and how that how we integrate that into a place where there's resources and tools for everyone.
Thank you, Trish. Well, Trish is a leader of Hecho por Nosotros and working on how many things we have been talking today can be embodied, materialized through this connection with producers, artisans, local people. We have to think that handcraft finally is the second hand force for employment, but totally fragmented as are our value chains. So important to rethink our value chains, how we can use technology as a tool in hands of the grassroots in order they can go and be introduced with their own narratives, sharing with us their wisdom, their collaborative principles, their natural circularity. And from there, we can inspire for the new generation. We can from there co-learn and transform totally our system. So I'm so thankful. I would like, we will have with Anna Shestakova. So beautiful, Anna, thank you. She will invite us for a practical work together. If you can be part of this, and then I would like all of you to have 1 minute to close. Yes, can be possible. Maybe we extend some few minutes, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Good afternoon, everybody. It was such a pleasure to hear all your voices. Do you hear me well? Yeah, because I'm not sure that my earphone. It was really a pleasure to hear your voices and to be inspired by all the work you're doing. Thank you very much for all you're doing. Now it's a big honor for me that I'm invited to offer you activity for the ending to summarize maybe today work. Maybe you will summarize something else that you've been doing all this week through all this summit, or maybe some other ideas will come up to your mind or to your heart. And as far as we're going to do the practice, I'll ask you to find 2 pencils or 2 pens and a piece of paper, if it's possible. The best is the red color for the pencil or pen, but I'm not insisting at all, just any will work. You all been talking about the work you're doing and the threads you're making. So now I'm offering you to make the thread. We're going to make it all together. And as far as you're ready, Paula, can you please tell me how much time we have? We have 10 minutes just to be comfortable in time. I just don't want to rush everybody. 10 minutes we have.
We have, yeah, around 10 minutes.
So, okay. So, and I invite you not to be in rush for this 10 minutes. It's really important because almost all of the time we're all in rush. We're all making changes and we're all involved in our really important, absolutely true work. But now for this 10 minutes, I see that everybody went somewhere and found those pencils and pens and the piece of paper. Perfecto. And if you're standing or sitting, I invite you and I offer you to find a little bit more comfortable position for you. There is always the possibility to find a little bit more comfortable position. Maybe to sit back or to stand on your feet, just to make yourself comfortable. And to place the piece of the paper that you have just in front of you, and to hold both pencils or pens that you have in your hands. Have it. And I even dare to ask you to close your eyes for several seconds. And I want to give you an image. The image, you'll be surprised now. Be ready. This is the image of embryo. Whatever you can imagine as embryo of a human being. This is the moment where we all, as far as we're all here, as far as all people are here on this planet Earth, we all been there. And we all have this experience. So I can suppose that we all can be united. We all share this experience. This is the moment that we all can share. So the embryo. And there is a special stage in the embryo development. Every stage is special, but we're going to have only one. The 7th week of the embryo. This is the moment when the hands of the would-be human being growing directly from the heart. It's just the same piece. The heart and the hands. It is the same tissue. So now I want you to hold those pencils or pens in your hands. And try to imagine, it's absolutely imagery thing, that the hands that holding those pens or pencils growing directly from your heart, and they're very connected. And now is the moment, this 10 or 7 minutes that we have, we can really express something from the heart through our hands on the piece of paper. And try to feel, what do you really have right now on your heart? Usually we cannot find a name for that, and it's good. It's something that we feel, good or bad, light, interesting, surprising, maybe sometimes scaring, supporting, very warm, or not. There is something you have right now on your heart. And the moment when you're ready or when you want, you can open your eyes. And I will ask you to draw with both of your hands simultaneously on the piece of paper. First, you will draw the frame on the list of paper. The frame where you will put the image. But first is the frame. You're using both your hands that growing right away from your heart. And you're making the frame because we need to create a container first, just to put all our thoughts, desires, ideas, wishes into this frame. And then whatever comes to your heart right now. Before we make a great change, we have to acknowledge what we have right now. And it's great to feel the support in our heart first, then of course in our head, but first heart. So we're making the frame and then we're making the drawing. We do it with the two hands simultaneously, whatever it is. It can be object or something totally abstract. Let's have 2 minutes for this drawing. And of course, we're not going to have an exhibition or presentation of this drawing. So just let yourself go with this. 2 minutes of drawing, two hands. It's a good exercise for your brain. Maybe you will recognize the image, maybe not. Maybe it's something you've already been drawing before. Maybe it's something completely new. It's an image of your, I call it hardy hands. That's an image made by your hardy hands. And of course, as maybe you do, I wish all the changes that come to this world are made first from the heart. Maybe it will lead us to a really better way, maybe better world, whatever it is. And if the image is ready, I ask you to look at it. And then there is 2 more steps we're going to have. And imagine that this image is the poem. Is the poem that describes your path, the way of the change you're making in the world. This image is the poem of your path, for your path, devoted to your path. And if this is the poem, what would be the name for this poem that you are creating? How would you name this poem? And if the title comes, you can write it down on your, maybe on your painting, maybe on the back side, maybe on the outside the frame, just to remember the name of your poem. And if it's possible for you to type it down in the chat that we have chat that we share here in the Zoom. If you can type down the name of the title of the poem for your path, please type it down. If no, absolutely okay. When I offer the practices for people who are so involved in the really big change makings, yes. Sometimes I feel shy that I offer something that is not that important, but I'm absolutely sure, and I know that sometimes we have to make very easy and simple things in order to create something very complicated, very new. We have to make small, simple steps. And we have to be able to do that. So let's look at the titles of the poems that we have. The Earthly Fly Effect, Eternal Beauty of Life, Righteousness. I'm sorry if I'm not writing it right. Love will always find a way. Layers of aroha. It's love. The heart will know the way. The heart will know the way. So I offer you to save this cast, this sample of the moment now, of this meeting, of this interacting, interweaving with each other. Maybe this small piece of paper with this small drawing, with this name that came out right from your heart. Let it be the memory of this moment and of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. My dog. Not your moment. Thank you so much, Anna, for bringing us all together. And would like to hear the seconds of bringing back whatever you want.
Adri, why as closure don't we take 1 minute each speaker to maybe not show, if you want to show the drop, maybe, I'm not sure, Anna, if that can be done, or if it's a treason of the activity, or maybe just to speak about what was moved from inside within, and with that we can just close everything. What do you think? You can start, Adri, if you want to.
I just feel grateful about the opportunity, and when we are brave in order to be ourselves, how beauty evolves, no? So thank you for all of you today and every day. Thank you.
Jason?
Paula, I wanted to close it or something, but I was trying to show my picture, but I'm just, I was navigating that at the moment, but it has been, it's been very enlightening, and it's empowering. It gives me a lot of energy to further provide for the communities that I serve currently. So, ngā mihi for that.
Thank you, Jason. Yvonne, do you want to share the insight?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know if I can, if you can see. I was trying to draw an anatomical heart, and then this is something that it's a doodle that I do a lot. What I'm struck by is, well, thank you, first of all, Anna, for leading us through that process as well of heart opening and heart sharing. I think when we are engaged in work that is around transformation and change, it requires an open heart, strong and open heart. And Jason, I love that word, aroha. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Pavel, do you want to open your mind?
Yeah, thank you, Anna, for hosting the session, and thank you everyone for sharing. And really resonated with what Yvonne was just sharing about. And it's interesting that we even used almost the same words in parallel. But I'm also thinking about something that emerges for me in the session. And I was talking about empowerment, and I'm thinking about specifically the women empowerment and the role that the women are playing in the transformation of the world. I think it's greatly underappreciated, the gift that feminine can offer by not mimicking male ways, like let's say masculine ways of the world that used to be, but really embrace who women really are, and learn help the world learn feminine ways. And I think that was modeled in the last 10 minutes of this session by Anna, and we all joined, and I feel this is exactly what needs to happen as we move into the future. And I think that's why these kind of sessions are so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Laura, do you want to share?
Thank you. I think that everything in this session has been truly, truly inspiring. And what I can add is that to transition towards a more caring economy, we absolutely need to put in practice everything that was said by everybody in this session, where we make more visible and more valuable the empowerment of women, because they are the ones that bring empathy, compassion, those two elements that are fundamental to move forward to caring for the environment, caring for people, and really integrating everybody in decision making of policymakers and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone. Adri, do you want to take the floor?
Well, no, a big thank you, a big hug, and let's continue on the journey together. Let's continue opening, discovering our feminine energy inside of us. Doesn't matter if we are man, women, but all of us has this opportunity to connect with this energy and evolve differently. Yes, we have been very connected with an aggressive way, no, and not that like smooth, receptive way of feminism. So thank you so much. See you soon. We are having the next session with Nano Kigel, a beautiful, strong, smart, innovative leader. I feel so happy. Everyone is invited, but give the end of the session we were on board. And thank you so much. Of course, you are invited to stay, and we give 1 minute for the beginning. Thank you. See you.
Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Mummy.
Hola, bienvenidos. Ya pues creo que podemos cambiar al español. Nano creo que estaba, Nano, Lara ya estaba.
Hola, sí, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Hola a todos.
¿Cómo
Hola a
están?
todos. ¿Cómo están? Gracias por sumarse hoy.
Bienvenidos.
Hola.
No, gracias a ustedes por ser parte.
¿Qué tal? Muy buenas tardes. Es un placer tenerlos acá. Vamos a dar en breve inicio de un segundo que quiero poder compartir pantalla.